What's up? Welcome back to my channel, or for the first time if you're new, I'm Sylvan, and today I'm going to be reacting to the Ancient Hymn trailer of Titans and the Mortal Realms, as well as the Mythology opening trailer, Song of Divine Silence. This first one came out a couple weeks ago and I missed it when I was on vacation, and the other one came out a couple days ago, so I thought I'd just sort of clump them together and do them at the same time. I'm excited to see what this has in store, so I'm just going to get straight to it, but before I do, I would like to mention that I am going to be streaming later today at 6:30 p.m. PST to play through the 3.0 Trailblaze mission as soon as it comes out. So if any of you are able to be there, I'd love to see you there. But for now, let's jump into this.
Even now, Kefali continues to bear the dawn.
Okay.
In the beginning, there was light, and the Titans created the first heaven and earth.
All right,
Then
sort of a
Kefali
mythology
molded
origin story.
humans and made a calendar to mark the passage of time,
Interesting.
giving birth to history.
I like that
Humanity
vibe.
thrived in a golden age. Their countless cities covered the
Mother
world,
cities.
sometimes in harmony, sometimes in strife, till the heretical
Oh,
black
recognize a few of
tide came
those.
from beyond the sky and swallowed Amphoreus. Oh, the mighty
I can't wait to
Kefali
learn more
lifted
about
the
this.
dawn on their shoulders, and thanks to their protection, the holy city's walls stood tall. But a Titan's eternal slumber was the price we paid. Now darkness envelops Amphoreus, and the horns of war sound from within Castrum
God, this place looks so
Kremlis'
good.
ruins.
Castrum
The Black
Kremlis.
Tide took Nikador, the Titan of strife, and in madness, they fell.
I really like how
Their
Nikador
armies
looks.
now raise their spears, vowing to set this broken world aflame. The messengers beg, hastening to the remaining cities for help, but receive only silence in return. Temple of the Three Fates, Yanosopolis. Are the priests there willing to share their god's prophecy? No.
I love the aesthetic of all these places, honestly.
Been broken, and Orynyx the Time Weaver hides in the mist.
Orynyx.
Their prophecy
I'm trying to get
silent.
these names in my head.
The Cradle of Knowledge, Grove of Epiphany. Are the sages there, willing to provide their knowledge? No.
Ooh.
The flames of
I
war
love that
burn
giant
through
face
all
in the
the
tree.
leaves. And even Circe's the reason Titan has entered death's embrace.
Circes, okay.
Death. Thanatos, the Death Titan, once promised to guide
They really
the
are just
deceased
pulling
back to
names
the river
straight out of
souls.
mythology.
But even when the ocean waves have fallen silent, where is the Reaper who protects the lost? And Aquila, the giant god of the sky, why have you closed your eyes, leaving humanity alone in the Evernight? Oh, gods, what has happened to you all?
I love Aquila's vibe.
Even now, Kefali continues to bear the dawn, but the holy city's walls will not stand eternal. The age of Titans has fallen, and only heroes can bring hope.
There's our guy.
The nameless deliverer will inherit the gods' core
Nameless?
flames and reform this broken world, just like that world bearer, Kefali.
Cool. I am a big fan of this. This is literally classic mythology vibes. It's really just giving us a solid look at a handful of the Titans and what they visually look like and what their general vibe is, as well as emphasizing the apocalyptic nature of Amphoreus, that this apocalyptic darkness is encroaching on everything, and as they say, Kefali continues to bear the dawn, and that is the only thing that is keeping it at bay. But we begin with the true beginning of everything, an origin story to reality from the perspective of the people of Amphoreus and their legends. In the beginning, there was light, and the Titans created the first heaven and earth. Then, Kefali molded humans and made a calendar to mark mark the passage of time. And it's during this time that we're panning past the silhouettes of the various titans. It very much seems like Kefali is the titan that truly was closest to humanity and most protective of and perhaps almost understandable of the titans, given their actions. They are the creator of humanity, and they created ways for us to understand the passage of time. And when the darkness of the void came, they were the one who bared the burden of the dawn, entering a slumber while they eternally carried it on their back to protect those who could survive. And by extension of inventing the calendar, they gave birth to history itself. The very fact that we can remember these legends and stories about the Titans, about the deeds of Kefali, is thanks to Kefali in of itself. Humanity thrived in a golden age. They had been given so much by the gods. Their countless cities covered the world, countless city-states as we've heard, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in strife, till the heretical black tide came from beyond the sky. And though everything was not necessarily always peaceful, there was strife and conflict between the cities. It was a golden era nonetheless, but that was taken from Amphoreus when this black tide, a heretical black tide, came from beyond the sky. And what that makes me immediately think of is that this is likely a force from beyond Amphoreus, from the greater universe that has encroached in on Amphoreus. And you can almost tie it being referred to as heretical into that. The greater universe has its own mythology and gods in the form of the Aeons, which are more sort of universally accepted within the greater universe, and their influence can be felt everywhere. But as we know, Amphoreus has its own gods, the Titans, that they revere, and they aren't particularly aware, or at the very least do not pay much attention to, the Aeons that we know of. So if this heretical black tide that threatens to doom the remnants of Amphoreus is truly something from beyond Amphoreus, it very well may be from a god of effectively a different pantheon, being one of the Aeons, perhaps the destruction, perhaps the finality, or perhaps another. Regardless of who or what it is, that's sort of where my mind goes with this line, as I don't really know what else would be heretical about it, unless it is simply talking about the idea that this black tide has resulted in the fall and humbling of the Titans, and thus has brought low the gods themselves in the eyes of the people of Amphoreus. Perhaps that's it, but I feel like there is potential merit to the other idea. But in response, continuously benevolent and protecting of their own creation of humanity, Kefali lifted the dawn on their shoulders, holding off this darkness. And thanks to their protection, the holy city's walls stood tall, but a titan's eternal slumber was the price we paid. Kefali effectively sacrificed themselves to give humanity a chance at survival, for Amphoreus to have a chance at survival. And this is the first mention of the holy city's walls in this, which we'll come back to later, as here it is speaking to the fact that thanks to Kefali holding up the dawn, the walls could hold true and block off the darkness. But now darkness envelops Amphoreus. The horns of war sound from within Castrum Kremnos' ruins. The black tide took Nicodor, the titan of strife, and in madness they fell. Of the titans we know, this is the first that has truly fallen to this darkness. The corrupting influence of the darkness encroaching on Amphoreus is not beyond breaking down the gods themselves and making them pawns in this apocalyptic, encroaching darkness. Their armies now raise their spears, vowing to set this broken world aflame, having effectively become the vanguard of the darkness. Armies that once may have protected the people of Amphoreus against such a thing have now been driven mad and turned against them. The messengers beg, hastening to the remaining cities for help, but receive only silence in return. Okema is the only city truly protected, thanks to Kefali, against the darkness. But if they have any hope of actually surviving, Okema alone cannot win. So they attempt to reach out to the other surviving cities in hopes that they can join forces, but they hear nothing. Whether this is because the people of those cities are now long gone, or something else, is to be seen. The Temple of the Three Fates Yenisopolis. Are the priests there willing to share their god's prophecy? A question, a hope that these sages will bring about the prophecies of their god to help the people of Amphoreus against the dark tide. But no, the scales have long been broken. This place has been abandoned, and Ornyx the Time Weaver hides in the mist. One titan has gone mad, another has entered eternal slumber, and Ornyx hides away. Their prophecy is silent. Given what we know about the Remembrance Trailblazer, I would imagine that though they hide away, we will hear from them. Whatever it is Ornyx is doing, or not doing, will likely become clear, if not immediately, in time, based on the fact that I believe we gain an amount of their power. But moving on, the Cradle of Knowledge, Grove of Epiphany. Are the sages there willing to provide their knowledge? One of the cities is silent. Their sages and prophecies do not reach us. Maybe the Grove of Epiphany will. Maybe they will be different. And if they are, will they be willing to share their knowledge? But once again, no. The flames of war burnt through all the leaves. And even Circe's the Reason Titan has entered death's embrace. While Onyx merely hides away and remains silent, Circe's is already gone, truly. More so than any of the other titans that we have talked about. And so, their people equally so are gone, burnt away like the leaves. And this leads to the thought of death. Thanatos the Death Titan, he once promised to guide the deceased back to the River of Souls. But even when the ocean waves have fallen silent, where is the Reaper who protects the lost? Whether he merely hides away, or has gone missing, or has even died himself, the Guider of Souls, the Reaper Thanatos, is nowhere to be seen or heard from. In this encroaching darkness, even the cycle of life and death is beginning to fall apart. There is no guide for the lost souls. And Aquila, the giant god of the sky, why have you closed your eyes? It's at this point where, with Thanatos and onward to Aquila here, the narrator has moved on from asking if there is hope in aid from other cities, and has moved on to lamenting the absence of the other titans. Thanatos is nowhere to be seen or heard from. Aquila has closed their eyes, which admittedly stands in contrast with what we see here, of this floating eye attached to Aquila moving to face us, to look at us, whatever us is in this context, whatever the camera perspective is. But having closed their eyes, they have left humanity alone in the Evernight. Oh gods, what has happened to you all? It's a lament of the loss of the gods. So few remain, so few can be heard from, and among them are some that no longer we wish to hear from as they have gone mad. Before I continue on, I just have to acknowledge again, I absolutely love this almost mechanized biblical dragon look that Aquila has. It is amazing. I love it. But moving on, we return to Kefali. They continue to bear the dawn, but the holy city's walls will not stand eternal. When they first took the dawn upon their back, it enabled the city's walls to endure, to hold strong. But now, after so much has been lost still, the walls will not be able to stand forever, even with Kefali holding the dawn. The Age of Titans has fallen, and only heroes can bring hope. If the gods themselves slumber and hide and have gone mad and died, then we cannot look to them for guidance or hope or salvation. We need heroes, people, individuals, mortals with the power to save us. And it's not lost on me that our good old Kevin lookalike is the one we see here in representation of those heroes. It is rather fitting for him to be the one who represents the last hope of humanity against an encroaching darkness, an encroaching evil force that wants nothing more than to destroy humanity. And the people of Amphoreus look to him with hope, and the other flame chasers. One day, the nameless deliverer will inherit the gods' core flames and reform this broken world. The heroes of Amphoreus inherit the hopes of the people from the Titans, and they do their best to save this dying world, but it is the nameless deliverer who will inherit the gods' core flames. Whether or not this deliverer is one of the heroes of Amphoreus, or someone from beyond, who's to say? But, once again, it is not lost on me, the usage of the term nameless is not capitalized in the subtitles, so it is not explicitly referencing the nameless, but nonetheless, it does call to mind our arrival, and the fact that it is clear our part that we will play is that which will turn the tide towards the ending of this story, of this epic. So it is quite possible that it is we who are the deliverer, who will inherit the god's core flames. The heroes of Amphoreus have gathered half of them, and we arrive to help gather the remaining, and we will inherit them. Or perhaps someone else will. But whoever it is, they will reform this broken world, just like that world bearer Kephale. And that is where we are left, with the despair of the loss of their gods. Humanity looks towards the hope that heroes will come to save them, to reform this broken world, to remake it into something better. But now I'm going to move on to the other trailer. So now we are on to the mythology opening trailer, Song of Divine Silence. This one came out only a couple days ago, and very much I imagine it is meant to be the final bit of hype towards the beginning of Amphoreus. It seems like this will likely focus on us as well as the heroes, seeing as we have both Kalis and Phynon in the thumbnail here. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it.
The eternal land.
Oh, Black Swan.
Amphoreus. A world where three paths intersect.
Yep. I'm curious about the third path.
The ancient gods of Amphoreus, once worshipped by humanity, they now stand as their foes.
Yeah.
That prosperity burst like a dewdrop. A black tide swallowed the world, inundating it in blood.
Save Akima! The Mad King Nikador has returned! Look! There's strife and conflict everywhere!
A
I
war
love
in the
how this
name
place
of the
looks.
gods lifted the curtains to turmoil.
There are mortals who
Okay.
fight against fate, even in this
Yeah.
hopelessly bleak era.
Hell yeah.
Even gods can bleed!
You and I will eventually step off the stage.
For if death cannot be avoided, I wish it could contain beauty more plentiful.
Ooh, she uses a scythe. Fuck yeah.
Or die.
I'm loving the music here.
See you tomorrow.
When you have a chance to make a choice,
Ooh.
make one that you know you won't
Returning to
regret.
that.
Stand with me and become heroes!
Fuck yeah. I'm a big fan of that. So yeah, this is clearly more of just a hype and tease towards what we're going to be getting, and I love it. So we open with Black Swan opening the way to Amphoreus for us, as she references the fact that this is a place where three paths intersect. So far we know erudition and remembrance, but yet we don't know what the third one is. And I'll be curious to see if we learn that in 3.0, or if that will continue to be a mystery going forward. The narrator speaks of the Titans, how they were once worshipped by humanity, but they now stand as their foes. And we see the giant sword wielded by Nikador turn, and it's here where we see a single car of the Express hurtling down into Amphoreus, only to be pierced through, as we then cut to Kalis and Don Hung. Don Hung seemingly has had his spear broken, as we turn to Phynon, who seemingly has also disarmed Kalis, wielding the bat. And from here we turn to the apocalyptic disasters around us, the chaos ensued by Nikador. It's here that we begin to show off some of the various new characters, Algea, Tribby, and then we have this standoff between Nikador and our group. From the looks of it, we have Don Hung, Phynon, looks like perhaps Black Swan, I'm forgetting his name, but one of the other Flame Chase heroes, and then us, I believe. And it's here that we have the voice of a particularly righteous sounding person. I don't know exactly who this is, but they state that there are mortals who fight against fate, even in this hopeless, bleak era. No matter how bleak and dark and hopeless things are and become, there will always be those who will fight against it, fight against the dying of the light, refuse to go quietly. And it's here where we then have Phynon backing up this claim, stating even gods can bleed. Which, first off, just a fucking hard line. I am already a massive fan of Phynon from the little bit we've seen, and it's here that we have the layering of multiple voices, I believe from all of the heroes. One person, I think maybe Algea speaking, says, "You and I will eventually step off the stage." And then we come to Castorus, who says, "For if death cannot be avoided, I wish it would contain beauty more plentiful." She speaks to the idea that though things may be hopeless, and though we all may be destined to die and perish, she hopes that it could be beautiful, that there could be a beauty in the death, that it is not all just sorrow and darkness. And as she says that, we have her manifest this dark, amorphous shape into a scythe that fully transforms to match her colors. And I am a big fan of that. Characters that wield scythes, some of my favorite characters in games. I already had a feeling that she was going to be a big one for me, given that she is effectively this game's version of Alicia, but confirming that she uses a scythe just makes it all that better for me. And then we have this masked figure, which I'm really interested in, presumably being the one speaking, saying stand down or die. Clearly they are probably an antagonist, or at the very least not on our side. And then we see here the heroes fighting, and someone saying, Trivy, see you tomorrow, as Trivy smiles. But something about the way it is said and the way we pull away from Trivy makes me think that perhaps whoever is speaking won't. Perhaps this is more of a goodbye than it is a see you next time. But then, having touched on many of the heroes, heard a bit of their perspective, we return back to Kalis, to the Trailblazer. And as we pan around us, we see the Stellaron Hunters. Before then, we loop back around, and it's the crew of the Express. And once again, we have Kafka reminding us, when you have a chance to make a choice, make one you know you won't regret. Once again, emphasizing that point. Perhaps that is pointing us to the idea that one of our big choices to make is coming, and we must make sure we don't regret it. But something else that interests me about this is how the crew of the Express and the Stellaron Hunters are mirrored here. As we can see, the Stellaron Hunters and the Express crew are all positioned in the same ways. Though their exact facing isn't identical, they are all placed in the same spots around us. And my reason for pointing this out is that perhaps March won't be the only one who potentially remembers something important during our time in Amphoreus. Perhaps when on a world connected to the remembrance, we will learn something about our past if there truly is one. I would not be surprised if we learn some surprising tidbits that they're hinting towards here. But it also perhaps is more so just reminding us of where we've come from and reminding us that a choice is coming. And it's after that reminder that we must make a choice we don't regret, that Phynon calls to us and says, stand with me and become heroes. Save this dying world with us. And that is where we end. I really love this. This does a perfect job in my mind of just hyping up the upcoming story right before the release of Amphoreus. And I just love that. But with that, I think I will leave things there. Reminder that I'm going to be streaming later today at 6:30, so check that out if you can. But for now, feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and I hope you all have a great day. Goodbye.